But I was going to tell you, I got this friend. He's going across the country. He's riding his bicycle all across the USA, from Florida all the way to California. He's going to pass through Arizona as well. But he's doing it now because it's cooler. But he's running into some cold, rainy weather back east, and it's getting kind of hard. But once he hits the Southwest, it'll be much better, I think. So.
Small modular nuclear reactors can replace normal large-sized nuclear plants because they take up less land space and aren't usually as large in capacity.
But I agree with you, brother. I think the nuclear situation could probably make a lot of headway for us in making green energy. Now, you've done a lot of research on nuclear plants, lately. When we think of nuclear, we think of these big, giant, big facilities, Is that what we're talking about now, or is there something new online that's coming up that's maybe better?
Yeah, there's alternatives to these large nuclear plants. There's things called small modular nuclear reactors, and that's something that has a lot of advantages to it. Because right now these large nuclear reactors take up a lot of land and all that.
Yeah.
And these ones can take up about like a quarter of the size of the land footprint.
Well, let's talk about their capacity then. So what's a typical capacity of a small nuclear power plant or modular plant? How much do they put out?
They can go from like 10 to 300 usually,
300 megawatts?
Or you can make them as high as you want, but the average I think would be around that,
Whereas like a big plant is like a gigawatt or something, right? So
yeah.
Maybe so typically let's say if you make up to 300 megawatts of power, that's about a third the size of a big plant, and so a third of the capacity, I guess.
Small modular nuclear reactors are very versatile in that they can be used in a lot of population settings, whether rural or urban, and can give you greater flexibility as far as distribution and backup power.
300 megawatts, that can run, over 70,000 homes, or maybe 500,000 people, so it's like a city itself. So one of those could actually run a small city, or large rural area as well, like you're saying out there. What about if you have, let's say, a place where you want to put it like it's an area where it's a big city, you'd need more than one of those things to run, right? And instead of a big plant, you'd have to have a lot of them. So
yeah, we're talking about that in one of our videos, the resiliency of the grid and all that. How if you have a network system or smart grids,
yeah,
you can have smaller ones distributed across the city. So I think this would be ideal for that.
Yeah,
as far as doing that, I mean, I think it would be hard to do that with other types of power sources, like within the city and all that, like wind or solar and everything.
Yeah, I think you're right. So if you have, like we're talking about modular ones, instead of one big, huge, taking up a square mile somewhere way outside the city, and then piping all that power in and having a single threaded distribution problem, you could have several of them closer into the city. And that's an advantage of a modular system. So distribution, you can have them also backups to other ones and then network together much easier, so that they can sense where power is needed and shift power to where it's supposed to be going pretty rapidly. Otherwise, one big plant, you're solely dependent on that one big plant. That's a single threaded operation there.
The other advantages of small modular nuclear reactors are numerous. They can help us create other fuels, are ideal for rapid manufacturing, and can run on a variety of different fuels.
I like the fact that, remember we talked about that time where we could use some of these nuclear power plants that are running all the time. At nighttime, they don't have a whole lot of things to do, but they still can put out a lot of power that's not costing anything, really, very little. And so maybe at that point we make hydrogen, or we use the power to make other fuels that are green as well, and so that'd be kind of neat to have a lot of these things, and you could distribute the power if they were networked. You could have a great situation going on where you're making green energy plus you're producing green energy, all for a very little greenhouse gas emission. overall, would you say that there's more advantages than disadvantages for these things?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we're talking about the modularity. I mean, we can build them wherever we want and stuff. Like they can be built in the factory and deployed somewhere else. So any kind of size scale, they can use different kind of fuels and all that. Like we were talking fuels that they're coming up with, and so we don't have the issue you were saying, like as far as like with water, how it's heavy water comes out from it, and the disposal concerns. So these could be a bit better with that.
Once the safety and efficacy of these nuclear plants are demonstrated effectively, the public fears surrounding their use should abate, and we may be seeing them more commonplace.
And I think people, maybe you think that if they build some of these smaller modular plants and put them up, and people see them and stuff, maybe sort of the hesitancy people have and the fear that they have over nuclear power might start to, abate a little bit.
If they know they are safer to use and they're more regulated and automated, and as far as safety goes, I think people would be a little less inclined to think that they're bad, as far as nuclear goes.
Right. Like, oh no, a nuclear plant in my backyard, I don't want that, or something. So.
Oh yeah.
Always people are all for something until it affects them, and so. But yeah, I hope it takes off. To me, it seems like it's no less intrusive than a big windmill farm, in the countryside as well. I mean, that's probably takes up more per megawatt. Probably takes up more land than a nuclear plant would. So. Well, all right. So, what's the message here? Yes, thumbs up or thumbs down for the nuclear plants?
I think thumbs up.
Thumbs up?
Yeah,
Okay,
thumbs up for
two
nuclear
thumbs
plant.
up.
Yeah, 2 thumbs up. Yeah.
Less problems than the advantages that they and the problems that they solve are much more than the disadvantages that they have. So,
I think that's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I think we covered all the bases, and I think nuclear, these kind of small nuclear reactors will be really good for us. So.
All right, that's the future then. All right. Well, until then, we're the Climate Change Brothers, trying to bring you all kinds of information about what could make the world a better place and bring us some green energy.